No, you should go now.
I am live. I'm on now.
Live?
Yes. So hi to anyone who's there. Yes. We're just checking it out here. So if anybody's there, we're just checking it out to make sure we are working. So give us 2 secs, please.
Six. I don't know. Mark.
Yeah. We have someone there. So if there's anyone there, give us a thumbs up, please. And just let me know that you're there. Let me know that this is on. No, it's on YouTube, not Facebook. I have a tester here in front of me, but they're looking at the
Yeah, but the test results are 20 feet
looking at Facebook. And we have 2 people watching, so that's good, I think. So it's 8 o'clock. So, well, it's 9 o'clock here in Spain. So let's get started. So thanks to anyone who's there. I know it's Halloween night and a lot of you are busy, so hopefully you can catch this later and you might get some good information with a bit of luck. So the idea of this event, I'm going to do it each Monday at 8 o'clock Irish time. Thanks for the thumbs up. Yeah, I'm going to do it at 8 o'clock Irish time, which for my friends in Spain down here, and I know I have a lot of friends in Denmark and Scandinavia. So obviously it's 9 o'clock in those countries. So yeah, I'm going to keep it going as long as you're interested. And being interested, it's important that you ask questions because otherwise I'll dominate the conversation with stuff that you may not be interested in. And it's also a bit difficult to have a conversation with myself. So, it's always important that you throw in some questions for me. And if I can answer them, great. And if I can't answer them, well, I'll be honest. So, and again, also, my answers will be anecdotal, I suppose, or, we are just looking at natural solutions. I suppose people won't really ask questions if they're not getting answers to them in the mainstream, if you have health issues. And because usually when we have got health issues, we will go to the doctor, we will look at medicine to help us out. But it's when it's not helping us out that you find a lot of people turn this way. Also, you have a lot of people who don't like to use medicines and they're always looking for natural solutions then in that way. So, if I can help you with some answers, I do have 30 years experience with working naturally with people. I did start out as a body worker, but as a hobby, I got very interested in diet and natural remedies and things like that. And for someone at my age, my qualifications aren't in nutrition. I do have a great interest in it. I'm not I'm not a homeopath or a natural medicine practitioner, but I have a lot of knowledge around supplements, healthy eating. I tried to follow that way myself and share the information that I do with people. And it seems in the clinic that where I'm treating people for physical issues or we're doing healing sessions for other things, the information I share with the clients seems to go down well. And it's those clients that have encouraged me to sit and do this sort of thing. So, yeah, hopefully you get some answers. So, I got a very interesting question earlier. Only one this week. So, if anybody is out there and you can You can type in questions. I know it's all there in front of me. I'll see them. But the one I got earlier was about nail fungus, and you know, yeah, nail fungus. It's very, very interesting. Let's just say. Now, as I go down this path to answer a question like this, I'm going to go pretty deep with it. And what I please bear this in mind as I speak each week. If there's stuff, I'm not going to say stuff that to frighten you, and especially on Halloween, I'm not going to try and frighten you. But you know, people are going to hear certain parts of this conversation at any given time, and they'll pick pieces. So this is a very interesting question, and it's going to lead somewhere very deep. So please don't go into panic mode. Please don't get frightened, because I'm always going to speak in general. I don't know, if somebody just sends me in a question, I know nothing about that person other than I'm suffering with nail fungus. I assume that it could be for their friend, it could be for someone in their family, So um, I'm not going to pretend that you're standing here in front of me and I know everything about you. So all I'm doing is speaking in general terms. And when I hear nail fungus, immediately I'm thinking about bacteria in the body, I'm thinking about microbiome, I'm thinking about candida overload. And what can, it is fungus is candida is a natural part of our microbiome. It has to be in there. And in a balanced microbiome, which is in the intestines, um, candida thrives healthy and it helps us to be healthy and all that. The problem is when you get overgrowth, and it can really overgrow in there in an unbalanced microbiome. If you have all that imbalance in your gut, candida can really, really take over and cause many, many problems. So that's what we're going to talk about here. Just give me 1 second. My assistant here is telling me there's a problem with a foggy lens. I've nothing to wipe it with. Okay, hopefully that's clearer for you now. Would you close that door on your way out, please? Thanks. Thanks. Um, so yeah, let's get started on this because it's important. So if you want to treat the nails directly, a great thing to do is bicarbonate of soda and Epsom salts mixed into warm water or hot water. No, go with warm water, and because you want to absorb those minerals into you want to absorb them in under the nails and into the skin. So if it's on your hands, you can just think of bathing your hands in warm water with bicarbonate of soda and Epsom salts, or bicarbonate of soda on its own. Make it a daily practice until the nails start getting better, until you start clearing out that fungus. If it's on your feet, same thing. You can just directly treat it that way, but to stop it from coming back, to clear it out of your system, you need to look at your bowel. You need to look at the imbalance that's in there, and you can do that in many ways. It's such a big question, this, when you break it down, when you start looking at candida. So what causes candida overgrowth? What gives it the fuel to do that? One of the first things you have to look at: have you been taking antibiotics? And if you've been taking antibiotics over, I meet some people who tell me I'm on my sixth course of antibiotics and the issue that I'm trying to treat hasn't cleared up. I've been taking antibiotics all my life, on and off. And, when we go to doctors with colds and flus and viruses and things like that, to give us antibiotics. So it's like the go-to medicine. And if you're someone who's been doing that for a long period of time, think over the 20-year period, whatever. If you're an adult and you've been taking antibiotics, and you just may never have taken probiotics after. You may not have healed your gut. What happens when we take antibiotics? I think we all know this, but let's just remind ourselves antibiotics kill all the bacteria in your body, the good and bad. Now, when that happens, it leaves room for candida to start to overproduce and take up space within the gut. So it's very and vitally important that you treat the gut after you've taken antibiotics. Go into health shops, talk to them about it, and look it up online. And there's so many different ways you can do that. There's so many um, probiotics out there, so many different ways of doing it. The other thing then you have to look at is, so antibiotics is one thing. Have you been on them, and have you treated yourself after to rebuild the microbiome? Um, the other is, what's my diet like? And again, candida and nail fungus, things like that, can be yeast infection as well. So you can have too much yeast in your diet, or you can be sensitive to yeast. So the classic person like that we all know someone, or lots of us have laughed about it over the years. You have someone who will have a big belly, and we call them beer bellies, and they'll tell you it costs them a fortune to put it there. But why can somebody drink the beer and not get the beer belly, and other people do get the beer belly? Now, of course, it's not only the beer that's doing that. It's usually diet related as well. Somebody just not taking care of what they put into the body. But let's just take the beer for instance. You have a Guinness drinker. That lovely white head on the top of the Guinness is the yeast. And if you're down on pints and pints of Guinness over time and you end up with a beer belly, you might just end up as well. Here's the other signs. Okay, flaky skin, even as much as dandruff. But you'll see guys who drink a lot of Guinness, you'll see them with flaky skin on their faces. Even you'll get flaky skin on their elbows. You'll get um their feet will smell. Now, sorry about that, but it just is a common factor as well. So when you have candida overgrowth, look at things like that. Are my elbows dry? Are my knees dry? Am I breaking out in patches on my skin like psoriasis patches? It's another aspect of this. Um, in between my toes, you'll get them sweaty and damp. You'll get the nail fungus coming through under the nails, and the feet will give off an odor. Even though you may be someone who looks after that and is very clean and showers and washes once, twice a day, change your socks every day, all these things, but still you're chasing it all the time. Um, that's a sign as well of candida overgrowth. These are all signs. You'll even see sweatiness in the palms. And another way of looking at your nails, and this is absolutely anecdotal, so don't. It's just a little trick I was shown many many years ago. If you just press on your nail like so, and let it go, it should go back to a pink color. We should have a pink color under our nails, and when you just press on it, it goes white, and when you let it go, it comes back to pink. That's the way it should be. It's like you can see the blood flowing back. When you're susceptible to candida and yeast overgrowth in the system, that will stay white when you press on it and let it go. It's a little sign you can check on yourself, and just a little trick. So have a look at things like that. Ask yourself these things. You know, am I chasing this with the foot odor, with the fungal nails, with the um flaky skin, dandruff? You'll get flakiness and dryness around here sometimes. Just watch out for all those signs. They're all part of it. What else can we speak about here? Diet, of course. And again, I suppose a lot of these questions, I was asked another question that I can kind of relate a lot of this what I'm going to say tonight in answering a question about blood pressure, someone who's on blood pressure meds. And blood pressure needs to be watched. We all know that. And especially as we get older in life, it's very important that if the doctor says you need blood pressure medication, listen to him. Don't ignore that one. You'll end up having a stroke or a heart attack if you do. But how do you resolve that? Just like this candida overgrowth, um, it is genuinely diet related, stress related with blood pressure as well. We can throw that into the mix. But you can add stress to the candida as well, and I'll explain as I go. So, just so as I don't forget about the blood pressure one, if you're someone who's going to start taking care of that yourself or looking at wanting to come off blood pressure medication, it's going to be vitally important that you make big changes to your diet and get yourself a blood pressure monitor yourself that you can check your blood pressure once or twice a week and making sure you're doing it right. Do not do that without your doctor's advice. That's just a no-no for you, because that's something that can just sneak up and take you out very quickly. So be careful with that one. Um, Getting back to the candida overgrowth. So there's many aspects to it. Sugar is always going to be one. You're going to have to look at your sugar intake, because unfortunately you're going to be feeding the fungus. If you have bloating or swelling in your belly area, along with your fungal nails, then that's telling you again that this is where that fungus will grow first. That's where you won't you'll be kind of asking yourself, why am I bloating? Why am I always swelling up? So things like you have to look at things like bread and grains. They, they they do affect the bowel in this way when you have that candida overgrowth or that yeast overgrowth. So look at things like that in your diet. Look at your sugar intake. Look at your grain intake. And what else? Fizzy drinks. All the common sense things. You heard me, if you're listening last week, about nice pictures on boxes of food, processed foods. They're going to have all the things in it that feed this factor. And if you just keep feeding it and feeding it and feeding it, it's going to just keep it. It takes over like fungus takes over anywhere, except it's taken over inside your bowel. And I think I said it last week as well, and you'll probably hear me saying it all the time. Bowel health is absolutely vital. To have your microbiome balanced, it's vital to your health. If you don't have it balanced, you're going to be in trouble in many aspects. And I'm going to go down the road, and this is where I said, please don't get frightened as I go down this road, because people will be at many different levels down this path. But it's absolutely known that candida can cause or be a factor with depression. That's one of the major illnesses out there today. And it's been known that people can heal depression when it's like classed as um like obviously depression can come through big emotional issues, but you can get a person who has had a good happy life without those big emotional traumas, and they're suffering with depression. But when you look at their diet and you find that the imbalance is gone and the candida has taken over, it can really bring lots of brain fog, which can lead down the road over time to forms of depression. So people have been known to clear up their moods and depressed states by healing the bowel. So that's one of the major ones that can come in. Brain health. Think brain health rather than thinking depression. And the connection with gut health and brain health. Science is talking about it loudly these days. They didn't years ago, but in recent years, they've acknowledged the fact that if your microbiome is healthy, it definitely helps you to think better, helps the brain to function better, and so on and so on. So think of illnesses that can go on up there. You have depression, but then does it right. Here's again the part that I don't want to be frightening people, but I'm going to just tell you these stories as I go. Okay, so there's a doctor in Italy. I think he's still around, but I know he had to go underground. I know he's been in court a few times and he's won court cases. But his name is Dr. Simonici, if I remember correctly. Um, and he was well known in Europe for treating cancer. And what his idea was. Now it can be argued with him, and there's a lot of good arguments against what he was doing, because he was saying every form of cancer was fungus. And what he was doing, like I said about treating your nails with the bicarbonate of soda, what this guy was doing was injecting bicarbonate of soda straight into tumors, and the tumors just seemed to literally explode into oblivion. And he had many, many, many hundreds and thousands of anecdotal cases, because he was treating it with in such a simple way. There was never going to be studies, or never going to be real scientific proof, as they say, no papers written on it. And as a result of it, he got chased down by the medical profession, as a lot of these doctors do when they treat things so serious naturally. But he believed that all cancers were related to this kind of fungus. Now, that isn't true. There's lots of other types of cancers, but he just seemed to be going after maybe specific ones. I'm not 100% sure of all the details of it, but it was very interesting that if it was fungus and he was just hitting it with bicarbonate of soda, that it was disappearing. The reason for that was this. And this is why, don't be panicking, because these things can be corrected quite simply. If you think of us, it's known, absolutely fact, that we're somewhere around 70 to 80% made of water, which means healthy water has to have a healthy pH level. So our system's pH level should be sitting around between 7 and 7.3. You will see a person who has a cancer, their pH level will usually be around between 5 and 5.5, which is very, very low and dangerous. So these things can quite simply be about getting your pH level corrected. And one of the things bicarbonate of soda does, it balances pH level. If you know anything about swimming pools, which I didn't until I moved to Spain, and then I was renting a house with a swimming pool, and one year I went away back to the clinic for a few weeks, and when I came back to Spain, my swimming pool was green. Went down to the pool shop, told the guy all about it, and what does he hand me? Bags of bicarbonate of soda, and showed me how to treat the pool over 5 days with bicarbonate of soda. And lo and behold, by the end of the treatment, it was back to normal colour. So same thing goes on in our body with bicarbonate of soda. So a very easy way to treat candida overload is to start drinking it. So what you can do, and again, this is very important, so please listen to this clearly as I say it. If you're someone who is swollen around the tummy area, and this is making sense to you, if the fungus nails is showing up, and the other things I said about the dry skin and the flaky hair or the flaky scalp, all these things I mentioned earlier, it's a sign that your pH level is going a bit low, and you can rebalance it by drinking bicarbonate of soda. Now, when you start, this is a very simple, easy way to do it. There's many, many ways to do it, but this is a very simple, cheap way to do it. When you start doing it, start slowly. Very, very important, because what will happen is if you take a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda and you put it in a glass of water, stir it up and drink it, it's going to do a clean out on you. It's like cleaning out pipes, and for the next hour or so, you're going to have to be near the bathroom. So don't do that to yourself. It's unpleasant. It's not nice. So start off slowly. You can start by just doing a quarter of a teaspoon on a daily basis for maybe a week into a glass of water, stir it up, and get used to the taste of it. It's not too overpowering, but it's a bit of a weird taste. And build it up over a few weeks to a teaspoon a day. When you get to a teaspoon, do it for 5 days in a row, take 2 days off, do it again. It's no harm to do that. And you can do it over a period of time. Just keep taking breaks. I have heard of people in Eastern Europe who use that as a daily medicine. I often use it myself. If especially if I have indigestion and things like that, I'd always have bicarbonate soda. It's a very, very simple remedy for a thing like this. Another thing you can do to help clear candida, there's, if you go on my Facebook page, I don't have her details right here, but there's a friend in my list called Sarah Knapp, Knapp. She's in Maynooth. She runs a colonic irrigation clinic, and if candida overload is bad in your system, colonic irrigation can be a very quick way of getting it out. And someone like Sarah would have, she'll know what she's dealing with. Because she has to watch it as it comes out, and she'll be able to help you with remedies, I'm sure, as well. There's also, I've used Sarah and I've no problems recommending her, because obviously someone doing a job like that has to be a very nice, caring person, and she is. So I'm sure you'd be very comfortable going to see her. There's another clinic in Dundalk that I used for many, many years. I don't have the details of it, but if you're up around that area, it's easier for you to get there. Just look up colonic irrigation in Dundalk. There's a great bunch of girls up there. It's ran by a master herbalist called Dimna O'Kane, and again, remedies for everything with things like this. But if you're struggling bad with it, that's a quick way of getting rid of the candida overgrowth first as you're treating. But again, it all comes back to diet. What are you putting into your body? Look at your diet and get off the processed foods. And when I say processed, in extreme cases, even a sliced pan is processed food, because someone has processed it for you. You need to get back to natural foods. You need to get back to live foods. And you're going to hear me saying this all the time. If it grew out of the ground or out of a tree, and I know some of you are vegetarians and vegans, but then if you're not, it can have a face on it as well. Otherwise, animal meat. So keep your diet basic when you're doing things like this. But unless you're doing a very balanced vegetarian or vegan diet, all fruits turn to sugar in our system, apart from a few of them. So your candida is going to like the sugar. So we don't overload on the sugar intake, even the natural sugars, while you're treating a problem like this. And that should help. Now, another big one that will give you an idea that's going on, that is going on in your system, is if you suffer with any form of thrush. And we all know where that comes, So if you're someone who's been treating thrush, and again, that easily comes after antibiotic treatments. But another thing that gives it is the birth control pill. And a lot of people still use that today. And it can cause big problems with that imbalance in the system as well, and feed candida. So you may have to look at changing. If you're on the birth control pill, you may have to look at, is the one that you're on suiting you. So these things do come into account when you're treating a thing like candida overgrowth. I remember a person who was struggling very, very much with it. You're looking at this. This is a classic example of it going to the extreme end with candida overgrowth. This poor person was so fatigued you wouldn't believe, struggling chronically with low moods, really, really bad, tiredness all the time, could sleep all day, no energy whatsoever, chronic back pain. What else was in there? Ringing in the ears, sinus problems, completely blocked up. And I remember this particular person saying to me, look at my tongue, and they put their tongue out, and there was a crack down the middle of their tongue. And when they spread open the crack, there was almost like little miniature cauliflowers growing inside the crack in this person's tongue. And that spread, there was a white coating all over the tongue as well. And I brought that person to the clinic that I was speaking about there in Dundalk, because it was many years ago. I didn't have other options in those days. And I remember the lady up there, the herbalist up there, saying, "Oh my God, it's been a while since I've seen a case this bad." And it took 3 or 4 months, if I remember correctly, of regular two visits every 2 weeks up there for colonic irrigation treatment with herbs to get it, break all this down and get it out of the person's body. And the difference over the weeks, because I took a great interest in this case, and this person didn't have transport, so I used to take the afternoons off each time and take her up there to sit in on the consultation. She allowed me to do that and learn about this. And what was amazing was the conversations we were having on the way up and the conversations on the way back, and how they changed over the months as this person got better. Um, and to watch this person's life and everything around, like, I remember going up and, the conversations we were having about her relationship, even how bad that was at the time, how this had intruded right into her life, and the distance that she was having in her relationship. And over the months and over the weeks and months, how she was excitedly telling me about how happy that had become again, how things had changed so much, how she was now in better moods, and the people that were sharing the house with her were seeing a different human being walking in, and all of a sudden this person was getting happy again. And that was affecting her relationship and life. And you know it's amazing what these things can develop into over time. And we just don't know. We might just have a symptom like nail fungus, which we started out with at the beginning. And over many, many years, with that not being corrected, not understanding that it's coming from the inside, and this is just a symptom. And then look at your life, look at your moods. Look at, am I suffering with depression? Am I dragging myself fatigued out of bed every morning? Am I facing my days from a place of being down? And if so, what do I need to do to change all that? And as I change all those things, watch the nails getting better, and watch the skin getting better. Watch all these things. Another thing you can do, if it has progressed further in, I know I was just asked about nails, but I'm asking you now: is this making sense to you? Is the conversation painting a bigger picture for you? And if so, or if anybody else out there is struggling like this, take the soaking of the nails a bit further. Take it into baths. If you're suffering with psoriasis, and it's not broken psoriasis, because to get into a salt bath with broken psoriasis can be quite hard. So you can do things like magnesium oil. Definitely going to be lacking in magnesium. So magnesium oil on the skin, spread it over your skin gently every single day. It'll sting you as you start with it. If it's stinging too much, you'll buy bottles of magnesium oil in a health store. I sell it at the clinic. I've none in stock at the moment. I'll hopefully have some next week when I'm back. Um, but it's very cheap. You'll pick it up for around €15 for a bottle that will last you, even though you're using it every day, it'll last you for at least a month, if not 6 weeks. Um, you put it on your skin every day. If you have open wounds like psoriasis, obviously don't put it onto the open wounds, it'll burn the hell out of you. But get it onto your skin in the parts that you can. Leave it on there for half an hour. If it's burning or stinging too much, wash it off. Over time, you'll get used to it. If you're someone who says, I just can't deal with that, it's too much, dilute the bottle by 50% with good mineral water, and use it that way. Or you can bathe in Epsom salts and bicarbonate of soda. Put the whole bag of bicarbonate of soda, they come in 500 gram bags. Put the whole bag into the bath, into a warm bath, not too hot, and allow that to absorb through your skin. That will all help to balance the pH level in your body, in your blood, and help to fight off the whole candida thing. So, and even if this is all making sense to you and you're thinking, oh, I need to get this checked, get checked for candida. And if it is that, There's candida diets you can follow. You'll find them on the internet. I don't know it fully myself, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you X, Y, and Z, but definitely cut out your processed foods. Have a look at the candida diet. See, does, one great way, am I doing it wrong? Look, if you have these symptoms I'm talking about, look up the candida diet and see what it tells you should be eating, and then ask yourself, do I eat that, or am I eating the opposite? And then you can work back from there and work with it yourself, because at the end of the day, we're the only ones who can do it. So asking other people to do it for you, I need a nutritionist to do that, I need this to do that. What about taking responsibility for yourself, educating yourself on it? Find out what the problem is first, get tested for it. You can buy pH strips in health stores and chemists. You can test your urine, or you can just put it under your tongue and look at it's self-explanatory on the box. Have a look at that, check your pH level, see is it low. You don't want it to be really low. If it's down around the 6 mark, or it's in the low sixes, that is not a good place to be. You need your pH level to be up around, as I said, around, they say, I think the healthiest is 7.2. You don't want it over 7.3. That's dangerous as well. You can be too alkaline. So you want your system to be non-acidic and not too alkaline. You want it to be neutral, which is around between 7 and 7.3. So if you're concerned about things like this, have a look at that. It's a very simple daily practice you can do to make sure that you're keeping it right. So that's called taking responsibility for yourself. Yes, you can get guided by someone like myself, and there's many others out there who can help you. But just the simple little things to correct it yourself, it's easy. These things can get easy. What happens is we just get lost in not realizing that our bad nutrition, our lack of nutrition, let's call it that. Don't use the word bad even. And don't think diets. Diets are fad things. We jump on and jump off. We jump on and jump on off. We can't wait to get off when we start going. We look and say we're doing it all wrong. I'm going to change my diet, and we change it 100%. And after 6 weeks, we get fed up and we just swing back. So just think about changing habits, changing it slowly, looking at these things, using your markers like a simple thing like pH levels. It's very easy to do. Drinking plenty of water, flushing it all out of you, kind of slowly detoxifying yourself. It's all very important. So yeah, hopefully that answers that for you. Now I'm going to take this to a bit of an extreme, because again, I've no new questions to nobody's sending in questions there. Let me just check where these ones came earlier and make sure before I go off talking further. One thing I do have that you could add to your program there, because I know with this kind of a problem, when you're healing the bowel, you're going to have higher inflammatory markers. The curcumin I sell at the clinic is quite possibly the best one out there. If it's not the best, it's up there with the best. I know there's other companies making good products, but the one I have at the clinic, it's only €30 for 30 capsules, or 50 for 60 capsules. And in a case like this, if you're having to treat your bowel, that curcumin would be a very good addition to your treatment plan. So just to say that to you as well. Now, let me just change the subject to something that I've been meeting a lot lately, and I will do a bigger conversation around this, but of course I have to be careful what I'm going to say, because it's such a big problem out there in the world. And when natural therapists like me start talking about it, we always have to be very careful. We have to be very aware of people's sensitivity, but also we have to be aware that if I say the wrong things, I can be taken off these platforms. So um, when I think about this imbalance in the microbiome and us getting unhealthy in the many ways that we do, we all know the biggest killers out there are things like cancer and cardiovascular health and diabetes. I think right now they're the three biggest illnesses in the world. They're right up there, you know, and the breakdown in our system like this contribute to them over time. Obviously, something like cancer doesn't just happen like overnight. It's said it can take 9 years for cancer to get to the point where it can be detected. It can be building up slowly inside your body before modern medicine can actually detect it. It can take 9 years. Um, so when you're looking at things like this, it's important to know that if my body is breaking down and something like my pH level has gone wrong and the candida is overtaken, isn't it interesting that this guy in Italy this and he was a medical doctor. I think his license was taken off him. He was just looking at it as a fungal thing and treating it and getting tremendous results. So we can do this for ourselves by balancing the pH level. And I'm going to use an example of a person who was very close to me in my life for many, many years. And I remember the early days of this person would have worked in an environment with a lot of chemicals and wouldn't have had a very healthy diet at all. Would have been a very, very simple, basic eater. Um, and therefore, when somebody eats like that, I just see them as someone who is going to, it's not that I say it's a bad diet, it's someone who is going to lack nutrition. So when you're lacking nutrition because you're not feeding it to yourself, you're going to over time run into trouble. Now, when you're working and breathing in lots of chemicals, again, that's not a good idea. It's toxicity. And so to watch this person over time in that environment, the first signs that came in this person's life was anxiety. So what anxiety can be when there's no apparent outside reasons. Again, like I said, something like candida, because I know in the early years as well, this person would have spoke to me about struggling with things like thrush and nail fungus problems and the nails falling off. And when they got tested, they were told that they were suffering with thrush as well. So the treatment was always topical. So therefore, it was never actually going internally and treating the problem. And after 5, 6 years of that, the psoriasis started to come. The with the psoriasis, the anxiety got worse because I remember I was starting out in this game, and that's how far I'm going back. And I remember going to Sean Boylan, who was a great herbalist in Dunboyne. I think he still practices. And I remember him putting his hand on this person's solar plexus, and he said, it's like there's a beehive in your solar plexus. The anxiety was so big that this person, when you touched them on the solar plexus, it was actually vibrating. And he immediately pointed out that he checked the nails, he was looking at the skin, and he immediately pointed out that this was fungal overgrowth in the system, that's where he was going to go after targeting. And unfortunately, you know, it meant this person had to bring home half-gallon containers full of different herbs, cook them every day, drink them, and it just became a chore that was too much at the time, you know. And with the anxiety, with everything that was going on in this person's life, they just couldn't keep up that program. So it did help. It calmed the nervous system down, calmed the anxiety, and as soon as a bit of calmness started coming in, it was away I'll go and go another way looking at this. But then the anxiety attacks came, and then the medication came for the anxiety attacks, and so on and so on. And over time, and over breakdowns again, like I said, that girl earlier, for many, many reasons, this person's anxiety was just getting worse and worse and worse. And again, it does, fungus overgrowth can relate to that. With depression and anxiety, it can have big effects on it because it gets in so deep into the system, it can affect the nervous system. And what happened over a 20-25 year period, sadly, was this person's system completely broke down into a very serious illness, and they died quite a young age. Now, as I said, I don't want to be frightening anybody, but if you go right back to the beginning, and I'm just using that as an anecdotal example, if you go right back to the beginning of that story, I often wonder what may have happened with the knowledge I have now. Um, if we had been able to point that person in the direction of the nail fungus is showing you something is breaking down inside, how can that be treated internally? We obviously would have had to do it in those days. I'm going back 30 years here. There was no internet, there was no anything. Um, a nutritionist would have had to be called on board. Then, can you look at, if a nutritionist comes along, is the person going to be ready to change everything and step out of food addiction, which what you usually find when a person isn't eating the proper healthy balanced diet, they're swinging towards sugary foods. A big addiction is sugar. Sugar will feed this problem as well. So I often wondered, I learned so much watching that person get sick over a 30-year period of time, or something, some amount of years like that. And I learned so much from just watching that person and being able to relate to so many others over the years, that could we heal that problem in the early days? And if so, would it have had a different outcome? We'll never know, but it's always an interesting story in my mind that it started out with these simple things that I'm talking about. So when you see these things developing in your body, pay heed to them. It's very important. It's the beginning of your body showing you something's breaking down. The skin is the biggest organ that we have. It's the biggest organ, believe it or not. And what happens is, internally, when the body has an imbalance and it's starting to go wrong, the body is incredibly intelligent, and it will try to protect our vital organs by pushing whatever's going wrong inside out through the biggest organ that we have, which is our skin. You know, when you get the flu and you sweat, that's your body trying to detoxify itself. It's amazing what it can do. You have all these millions of pores in your body, and it'll push stuff out through them, including under your nails. So when you see these things going wrong, you see the dry elbows, you see the nail fungus, and so on. Like I said, the foot odor, things like that. Think about, there's something going wrong internally. It's beginning. If I can correct it now, maybe I won't run into bigger health issues down the road. And it can be that simple. So think of it that way when you're looking at these problems. Excuse me, one of the problems with the medical system is they treat symptoms. Your nail fungus is a symptom of something giving you an imbalance in your body internally. If you just treat the nails, it'll probably never go away. You'll just always be treating the nails because you're not looking at the deeper aspect of it. So think of it that way. Now, I'm just using that as an example. This comes in many, many guises, these imbalances. Your skin is showing you something. Pay heed to it. Do yourself a favor. Have a look at. Do a simple test. Do a simple pH test. That goes for many, many things. Go and get some pH strips. Test your urine. Test your saliva in the mornings. You do that first thing in the mornings. It'll tell you on the box how to do it. If your pH level is below the 7 mark, around 6.5 or under, you need to start addressing the problem now, because it's not going to go away. It's going to get bigger. It may add other things as you go. So have a look at your dietary factors, have a look at your stress levels, have a look at whatever is going on in your life that isn't suiting you. Come back to yourself and ask yourself, what do I need to do to correct all this? So, as I said at the start, I didn't mean to be frightening you, but it's a great little warning sign that there's an imbalance in your body. And once again, diet is very important. Stress levels, very important. If you're carrying excess weight, one of the quickest ways to get rid of it, and is quite simply do some fasting. Cut out your first meal in the day. If you have breakfast, you'll find a lot of the recommendations for breakfast foods, like breakfast cereals, again I spoke about it last week, are things that feed this problem. So cut out the first meal of the day. Don't even have a cup of coffee in the morning. Just drink water. Have your first meal around lunchtime. Try and have your second meal and your last meal maybe 6 to 8 hours later, and then fast for 14, 16, or 18 hours. If you do that, or if you're carrying weight and if this is all making sense to you and you think, okay, I need to get serious about this, a very quick, fast way of losing weight is to do some fasting. And when you get into the habit of it, you'll shock yourself how quick that weight will drop off, and it'll give you a chance to clear something like candida out of your system. So, yeah, look at things like that and see how it goes for you. Okay. And hopefully that answers that question and doesn't frighten you on this Halloween night. I know we can all get scared tonight, so I didn't um I didn't go that deep to do that to you. It's just that I feel you have a very important early warning sign going on there. So go and do something about it. Bicarbonate soda, make it your best friend. Again, I'm going to say this again. Take it easy in the beginning as you drink it, and build it up to where you can have a teaspoon a day. Do that from Monday to Friday, take Saturday and Sunday off. And over time, it'll help with a good diet. It won't do it on its own. With a good diet, it'll help to clear that out for you. Bathe your fingers in the bicarb and the Epsom salts and just clear up that stuff from your nails. You'll see new nails grown and you'll be delighted with that. So hopefully that answers your question. We've been on for nearly an hour now, so I'm going to let it go because I know there's a few people watching, but there's no more questions coming in. And I'll be back on this time next week. I'll be at the clinic from this Thursday until the 11th, which is the following Friday. So I'll be doing this from Dublin next Monday evening. Okay. So see you all then. Hope you enjoyed, and thanks very much for giving me some time on a busy Halloween evening. Have a good one.